Hello and welcome to my take on the 52 frames challenge. I'm Johnny and our theme this week is macro, a sensible follow-up to last week's theme, which was more suited to wide shots. Macro photography is all about getting in, making your subject appear larger than life. Now, I'll say straight away that the photo I ended up submitting is not a macro shot. It was more inspired by the prompt of, this week we're making small things look larger. But I'll explain myself in a bit. First, let's explain what macro really is using these lovely flowers. Alright, without getting too technical or accurate here, let's just say that if you wanted to simulate a macro shot, all you gotta do is make a subject that's about as tall as two of these blossoms take most of your frame, like this. Delicious bokeh, a very shallow depth of field that keeps your subject sharp, but everything else pleasantly out of focus, is another staple of macro photography. And some lenses allow you to keep the in-focus area in the millimeters, so maybe only the front of your subject, just one petal, would be in focus, but the back would be blurry, which is something you may not want. This is where this week's bonus challenge comes into play: focus stacking. Focus stacking is when you take multiple, almost identical pictures and stack them together. What's the difference? They each have a slightly different focus depth. We're talking millimeters here. So with our flowers, you would maybe take these pictures and combine them together for this effect. This is not the best example of focus stacking, as this is not the best example of macro. You may have realized that my original shot was this, and I had to crop the picture in post in order to make the real subjects as big as I wanted them, to qualify as a macro shot. This is because I'm shooting this with the only lens I got, which is a 24mm, which is absurd for macro photography. There are specific macro lenses that pretty much make sure that an image makes it to your sensor larger than life already. Then there are long lenses like a 70-200mm that zoom in to make it so you can simulate that larger than life effect. And then there are 24mm lenses that are made to fit in as many huge things on your frame as possible. So it's counterintuitive, but this is supposed to be a challenge. So what I really wanted to do this week was take this miniature Eiffel Tower my sister got me and have it stand beside some tall buildings. So I went to Westminster and I got this shot. Why is the Big Ben Tower so blurry? Well, it's because it currently looks like this. Ugh, it's just too ugly in its present state, so I had to use a shallow depth of field in order to keep the attention to my tower. It has to be the star of the photo, and I did get one more that I liked, this one. It's got more interesting lighting thanks to a rare break in the clouds, but it does have the mini tower looking smaller, so even further away from a macro shot. But the colors, they're just so lively. So that's what I ended up submitting for the macro week. Is that outrageous? Should I have just gone for the actual macro shot? Let me know in the comments below. In my defense, I think the only rule is submit a photo by the deadline. Everything else is there to help you and inspire you. And I definitely was helped and inspired by the theme. And I can't wait for the next one. On that note, thanks a bunch for watching, keep shooting, and I'll see you around.